And so, Finn and the Great Serpent kept the river's stories happy and flowing, a secret friendship at the heart of the valley. Now it is your turn to listen to the quiet whispers of your own dreams. Close your eyes, let the story flow, and sleep. Well, if you enjoyed our fable tonight, we hope you'll join us again. Please like and subscribe to Bedtimes Fable to help us share more gentle stories with the world. Sweet dreams. In a valley carved by a river as old as the mountains, lived a young boy named Finn. Finn was a quiet boy, a listener, and his favorite thing in the world was the river. To everyone else in his village, the river was just a place to fish or to fill their buckets. But to Finn, the river was a storyteller. He had a secret ability. He could understand the river's whispers. He would sit on its mossy bank for hours, his head tilted, and listen to the water as it tumbled over the stones. The river's voice was not made of words, but of feelings, sounds, and ancient memories. It would tell him stories of the high, snowy peaks where it was born, of the shy deer that drank from its banks at dawn, and of the slippery, silver salmon that raced through its currents. He could hear the river's mood in its song. On sunny days, it would tell happy, giggling stories. On rainy days, it would tell slow, thoughtful, and mysterious tales. The river was his wisest and most constant friend, and its stories were his greatest treasure. He would often see its spirit dancing in the water, a playful, shimmering ribbon of turquoise and silver light, twisting happily in the sunlit shallows. One morning, Finn woke and went to his favorite spot by the river, but something was wrong. The river's happy, giggling song was gone. He looked at the water. It was still clear, but it was moving with a slow, heavy listlessness, as if it were too tired to flow. The cheerful music it usually made as it tumbled over the rocks had been replaced by a slow, sad, sighing sound. Finn looked for the shimmering river spirit, but the playful ribbon of light was gone. In its place, he could just make out a faint, murky grey wisp, drifting sadly and slowly near the bottom of the riverbed, its light almost completely gone. A feeling of deep worry settled in Finn's heart. His friend, the river, was sad. It was not just quiet, it felt heartbroken. He put his hand in the water, and it felt colder than usual, lacking its familiar, lively energy. He leaned in close, trying to listen to its whispers, to understand what was wrong. But the stories were gone, too. All he could hear was a single, repeated, sorrowful whisper, a feeling of something precious that had been lost, a great and terrible emptiness that had settled at the river's very heart, far, far upstream. Finn knew he couldn't just sit and watch his friend be sad. If the source of the sorrow was upstream, then that was where he had to go. He ran back to his cottage and packed a small leather satchel with a piece of bread, a water skin, and a coil of strong hemp rope, for he did not know what dangers he might find. He told his mother he was going to explore the upper valley, and with a brave heart, he set off on his journey. He walked along the riverbank, traveling against the slow, sad current, heading towards the high, misty mountains where the river was born. The further he walked, the sadder the world around him seemed to become. The birds in the trees were quiet, and the flowers on the bank seemed to droop their heads in sympathy with the river. The air grew cooler and was filled with a damp, sorrowful mist that seemed to rise from the water itself. Finn did not let the gloom deter him. He was on a mission for his friend. He would listen carefully to the river's sad whisper, using it as a guide, following the trail of its sorrow all the way to its source, determined to find what was lost and bring the happy stories back to the water. After walking for a whole day, following the river as it became a smaller and smaller stream, Finn arrived at a place he had never seen before. The stream flowed out from a narrow, rocky canyon, and at the other end of the canyon was a vast, hidden lake. The lake was completely still, its surface like a sheet of dark, polished glass. A thick, heavy mist hung over the entire lake, so thick that he could not see the other side. The air was cold, and the silence here was absolute. This was the source of the river, and it was the source of the sadness. The feeling of loss was so powerful here. It was a physical weight in the air. This was a place of deep, ancient, and profound sorrow. Finn knew that whatever the river had lost it here. He found a small, hidden game trail that led along the edge of the canyon, and he began to walk carefully alongside the misty lake, his eyes peering into the thick, white vapor, wondering what secret this sad and silent place was hiding. The only sound was the soft crunch of his own boots on the gravelly shore, a sound that felt loud and intrusive in the heavy, listening silence. As Finn walked, he saw a shape moving slowly in the mist near the center of the lake. It was a long, graceful, and impossibly large form, gliding through the water with a slow and heavy sadness. He crept to the water's edge and hid behind a large boulder to watch. As the shape drifted closer, he could see what it was, and his heart filled not with fear, but with a great and sudden pity. It was a Lake Serpent. She was an ancient and magnificent creature, her long, sinuous body covered in smooth, shimmering scales the color of deep twilight. A crest of delicate, pale blue fins ran along her back, and her face, when she lifted it from the water, was not monstrous, but gentle and incredibly wise, with large, amethyst-colored eyes that were overflowing with a deep and ancient sorrow. It was the serpent, he realized, who was the true heart of the river. Her sadness was the river's sadness. He watched as she swam in slow, lonely circles, her great head dipping beneath the surface as if she were searching for something, her every movement radiating a feeling of hopeless, endless loss. Finn knew, with a certainty that settled deep in his soul, that he had found the source of the problem. But now he had a much bigger question. How do you help a creature as old and as sad as time itself? Gathering all his courage, Finn stepped out from behind the boulder. "Hello," he called out, his voice small in the great silence. The giant serpent lifted her head, her amethyst eyes focusing on him. She did not seem angry, only surprised. She had not had a visitor in 100 years. "You are not afraid of me, little one?" Her voice whispered across the water, a sound like ancient stones rubbing together deep beneath the earth. "No," Finn replied honestly. "You look sad." A great, slow sigh rippled through the serpent's long body. "I am sad," she whispered, "for I have lost my treasure. I have lost my heart." She explained that she was the guardian of a very special stone, a moonstone that had been given to her by the moon itself long ago. The stone held the moon's gentle, calming light, and it was the source of all the rivers, peace and happiness. But a few days ago, during a careless, playful roll, the stone had slipped from its resting place on the shore and had fallen into the deep, dark, silty bottom of the lake. She had been searching for it ever since, but her great size made it impossible for her to search the small, tight crevices at the bottom of the lake. Without the stone's calming light, all that was left in her heart was a deep and endless sorrow, a sorrow that now flowed down her river and out into the world. Finn listened to the great serpent's story, his heart filling with a deep and determined purpose. He looked at her immense, graceful body, and then down at his own small, nimble form. He knew what he had to do. "You are too big to search in the small places," he said, his voice clear and brave. "But I am small. I can go where you cannot. I will find your stone for you." The giant serpent, Nixie, looked at the little boy with her ancient amethyst eyes, a flicker of hope stirring within her for the first time in days. "The water is very deep and very cold, little one," she whispered, her voice full of concern. "And the bottom is a maze of dark rocks and thick, soft silt. You could be lost forever." Finn reached into his satchel and took out his coil of strong hemp rope. "I will tie one end to this rock here on the shore," he said, his voice full of a confidence he didn't quite feel. "And I will hold onto the other end. That way, I can always find my way back. Please, let me try. I want to hear your river sing." It's happy stories again, seeing the pure, honest kindness in his eyes, and with no other hope left. Nixie gave a slow, grateful nod of her great, wise head. Finn took a deep, shuddering breath of the cold, misty air. He tied one end of his rope securely around a large, sturdy boulder on the shore. He then looped the other end around his waist, ensuring it was snug and safe. He looked at Nixie, who gave him a slow, encouraging blink. With his heart pounding in his chest, Finn waded into the still, cold water. It was so cold it took his breath away, but he did not falter. He took one last look at the grey, misty world above, and then he plunged beneath the surface. The world underwater was a place of deep, silent twilight. The thick mist on the surface filtered out most of the light, creating a world of soft, grey shadows. The water was incredibly clear, but also eerily still, and the silence was absolute. As he swam deeper and deeper, letting the rope play out behind him, the bottom of the lake came into view. It was just as Nixie had described, a landscape of dark, mossy rocks, deep, narrow crevices, and thick beds of soft, fine silt that looked like sleeping, grey clouds. He knew the moonstone could be hidden anywhere in this vast, silent maze. He held the rope tightly in one hand, his only connection to the world above, and began his search. Finn searched for what felt like an eternity. The cold of the deep water was beginning to seep into his bones, and his lungs ached for air. He had checked every crevice and peered under every overhanging rock, but he had found nothing. The bottom of the lake was a vast and lonely place. He was just beginning to think that the quest was hopeless when his foot brushed against something smooth and perfectly round, buried deep in a bed of soft silt. His heart gave a hopeful leap. He plunged his hands into the cold, soft silt, digging and feeling around. His fingers closed around a smooth, cool, and perfectly spherical object. It was a stone, and it was the right size. With his heart pounding, he began to lift it from its silty bed. As he did, a faint, soft, and beautiful light began to pulse from within the stone, cutting through the deep, grey gloom of the lake. It was a gentle, silvery white light, like the light of a full moon held in his own two hands. He had found it, the moonstone. As its light grew stronger, it pushed back the darkness around him, illuminating the underwater world with a beautiful, serene, and magical glow. Holding the glowing moonstone tightly to his chest, Finn began his ascent, pulling himself up the rope, hand over hand, towards the surface. The stone's beautiful light acted as his own personal lantern, guiding him upwards through the dark water. When his head finally broke the surface, gasping in the cool, misty air, the first thing he saw was Nixie's great, wise face, her amethyst eyes wide with a hope so intense it was almost painful to see. "I found it," Finn shouted, his voice echoing. In the stillness, he held up the stone, and its brilliant, silvery white light cut through the thick mist, creating a perfect, glowing circle of clarity on the water. A sound, a deep, rumbling, and joyous sound, came from the very depths of the great Lake Serpent. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated happiness, a sound of a heart being made whole again. A single, giant tear, but this time a tear of pure joy, rolled from her eye and splashed into the lake, creating a beautiful, glowing ripple that spread out across the entire surface. She lowered her great head and gently, with the softness of a falling leaf, she nudged Finn's cheek with her smooth, twilight-colored snout. It was a gesture of thanks so profound and so full of love that Finn felt it in the very core of his being. Nixie gently took the moonstone from Finn and placed it in a special hollowed-out alcove on the shore, a safe and beautiful nest where it could watch over the lake forever. The moment the stone was settled, a magical transformation began. The heavy, sorrowful mist that had covered the lake for days began to dissolve, burned away by the stone's pure, gentle light. The sun, which had been hidden, broke through the clouds, and its warm rays danced on the water's surface. The lake was no longer still and silent. A happy, energetic sparkle returned to its waves. And the river, the little stream that flowed out from the lake, was reborn. The slow, sad trickle was replaced by a strong, confident, and musical flow. As the happy, re-energized water tumbled out of the canyon and down into the valley, it began to laugh and sing again, its cheerful, gurgling song echoing off the mountainsides. The river spirit, once a sad, grey wisp, was now a brilliant, vibrant, and joyful ribbon of turquoise and silver light, dancing and leaping through the currents, its happy energy flowing all the way down to Finn's village, a messenger of the good news. The river was happy again because its heart, the great serpent, was happy again. Finn sat on the shore, tired but incredibly happy, watching the world come back to life. Nixie, the great lake serpent, now glowed with a soft, inner contentment, her twilight-colored scales shimmering beautifully in the new sunlight. She turned her wise amethyst eyes to Finn. "You have given me back my heart, little one," her ancient voice whispered. "And for that, I owe you a great debt. I cannot give you treasures of gold or silver, but I can give you a gift from the river itself." She dipped her great head into the water and came back up with a single, small, smooth, and perfectly shaped stone in her mouth. It was a river stone, but it was a special one. It was a deep, beautiful emerald green, the color of the forest after a happy rain, and it hummed with the faint, gentle music of the now joyful river. "This is a listening stone," Nixie explained. "Keep it with you always, whenever you hold it to your ear, no matter how far away you are. You will be able to hear the river's whispers, and it will tell you its stories." It was the most perfect gift Finn could have ever imagined. He took the stone, its surface cool and smooth, and thanked the great serpent with all his heart. It was time for Finn to go home. He knew his parents would be worrying. He said his goodbyes to the great serpent, his heart a little sad to be leaving his new friend. "Will I ever see you again?" he asked. Nixie's amethyst eyes crinkled in what looked like a giant, gentle smile. "The river connects us now, little one," she whispered. "I will always be with you in its stories. But if you ever feel lonely, or if you ever just wish to talk, come back to the edge of the lake. I will be here. This is a secret place, a place of peace, and you are now and forever its welcome friend." With a final, graceful nod, the great serpent dipped her head beneath the sparkling water and disappeared into the clear, deep blue, leaving only a gentle, happy ripple behind. Finn clutched his new listening stone tightly in his hand. He was not just the boy who listened to the river anymore. He was a friend to its great and ancient heart. He knew this would be a secret he would keep and cherish for the rest of his life. The journey back down the valley was a joyful one. The world was alive with music. The river beside him was singing its happiest song, and Finn could hear its stories more clearly than ever before. It told him of its gratitude and of the ancient, wise serpent who was now happy in her secret lake. The birds, too, had their voices back, and they sang a cheerful chorus that echoed through the hills. Even the wind seemed to be humming a happy tune. When he arrived back at his village, the world was full of color and life once more. His parents rushed out to hug him, relieved to see him safe. They asked him about his adventure, and he simply smiled. "The river was sad," he said, "so I went for a long walk to listen to it, and now it's happy again." That evening, he sat by his favorite spot on the riverbank. The water was clear and sparkling, and the playful, shimmering ribbon of the river spirit was dancing and leaping in the current, more vibrant and more joyful than he had ever seen it before. The stories were back, richer and more wonderful than ever. That night, as he lay in his cozy bed, the happy song of the river a gentle lullaby outside his window, Finn took out the beautiful emerald green listening stone that Nixie had given him. He held its cool, smooth surface to his ear, and he heard it. It was not the sound of the river outside his window. It was a different sound, a deeper one. He could hear the slow, peaceful, and contented breathing of the great serpent, sleeping soundly in her hidden lake. And woven into her breath was a low, ancient, and beautiful humming sound, a song of pure, deep peace. It was the serpent's own lullaby, a secret song shared only with him. He knew that even though she was far away, their friendship would always connect them. He had saved the river's heart, and in return, the river had shared its deepest, most peaceful secret with him. With the gentle, humming song of the sleeping serpent in his ear, and the happy, giggling song of the river outside his window, Finn closed his eyes, his heart full of peace and adventure. He drifted off into the deepest, most peaceful sleep he had ever known, his dreams filled with the gentle magic of the water.